Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to the Jayda InStitches show and another live crochet along. We are going to pick up where we left off yesterday. I am just making a couple of last little minutes changes to things here. Getting ready for the chat along. Okay, I've got a hot mulled cup of cider. Yum. I've got... Let's see here. I've got a little glass of water. I've got all of the things I need. Cider, everybody. I've even got a couple of cloves in there. Nice and hot. So let's party. Yesterday, we made a couple of fingerless gloves, using that split shell stitch tutorial that we did several years ago. Just so you all know, we had a question from someone in the comments. I think it was Tammy. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember. I apologize if I've got your name wrong. She asked if there was a way to add a little bit of a thumb to the actual glove. So right now it's just like a nice little sort of hand warmer. And she wondered if there was a way to kind of add a bit of a thumb. And there is, and I've included directions on how to do that just quickly in the description box of yesterday's live stream. So if you want to add like just a little bit of a thumb to your gloves, I've included those directions. They're really simple. You're basically just working around the hole like we've done on a couple of previous pairs, but you're putting in an extra split shell here, one up here, but a regular 3 double crochet shell on either side. So a split, and a full regular shell on either side. And then you can do that for a couple of rows if you want. Nothing confusing. It's just a little way to kind of close in that space if you want to do that. So if you're interested, the directions are included in the description box of yesterday's live crochet along. And I had enough yarn left. I figured we would make the matching hat out of it. So the tutorial for the original shell stitch beanie, like that little cloche hat we made, is linked in the description box. So if you want the succinct version, that is all linked up for you. And it is made to match our mitts. It's a really cute little hat. It's like one of those sort of, I don't know, it's kind of like it's not a super warm, like it's not really a wintry hat, but it's cute. So it's the kind of hat maybe you might like toss on if you just kind of want, if you're having like not the best hair day, but you want to stroll around maybe the mall, or you want to be out sort of shopping and you're not going to be outside a whole lot, but you kind of want to, you know, have your hair contained and maybe, you know, just a little bit of warmth, you know, not too much. That's how I like to wear it, and it looks really cute with the gloves. So I'm going to continue with my yarn from yesterday. This is a marble yarn by James C. Brett. Like I mentioned yesterday, it doesn't actually have a name. It just says shade MT6 and dye 32.99. So I don't know if that's of any use to anybody. I'm not even sure if this is still being made. I hope it is, because it's gorgeous. I love it. But it's considered a DK, or a double knitting weight. And I'm going to say this is on the light side of a size 4, the very heavy side of a size 3. So that's the yarn I used to make the gloves. This is the yarn I'm going to be using to make the cloche hat. And the original tutorial called for a size 4 yarn, but the size 4 weight yarn we used, and I think that was like back in 2017, it was on the thinner or the lighter side of the size 4 weight. So before we get into the hat today, I want to talk about gauge, because that's the #1 question that comes up on that particular hat pattern. So this is a really nice way to be able to sort of address that with everybody. So it is a delicate little hat. It calls for a slightly more delicate yarn. So a lighter size 4, a lightweight size 3 yarn, those are both fine. You can use a regular size 4, which is like, you know, like your Super Savers, that kind of a thickness. But you might want to use the smaller hook. So I've got 2 hooks in front of me. I'm going to be using my 4mm today, the G6. This is the hook I'm going to use for my hat. I also had the 4.5mm here, which is the size 7, which is just like a half hook size up from this one. I had that one here just in case I felt like things were a bit tight, but I know me, I will not be too tight with this hat. But I wanted to talk about that because this is you want to adjust your hook size for this pattern depending on the hat the head size you're making the hat for, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So I'm using my G6. You want a pair of scissors, a yarn needle. You might find a stitch marker helps because we are working in the round, and a measuring tape is pretty important today because we've got a gauge to pay attention to. So I'll be showing you how to measure. And in terms of how much yarn, the original pattern calls for around like 75 grams, and that's with the assumption that you're using the size 4 weight yarn. So I'm going to say like 80, 85 yards. That's probably an overestimate, but it's always better to have too much than not enough. So I'm pretty sure I've got at least that left behind from yesterday. So I'm going to get to work on that. I'm going to put my mitts out of the way. I'm going to move all of my little things to the side. And let's get going. So in terms of, let's see, where's my yarn? There we are. In terms of gauge, you can make this hat to fit multiple head sizes, and it really is designed for like a teen-aged girl and up. So teens and adults. It's not really meant for kids. You can make it for kids, but it will require you to like really size down your hook and your yarn and absolutely know the size of the head that you're dealing with. And I didn't really size it for children. So we sometimes get asked, you know, hey, can I make this for kids? And I say yes, but I didn't really size it with kids in mind. And it's kind of because we're kind of building a hat from the top down. It's always way more difficult to get a head, a good fit in a hat when you're working from the top down than it is from working bottom up. So this is definitely like, you know, with a specific head size in mind. So I've got 3 sizes. I've got what I call small, medium, and large. Small is like 21 to 22 inches in circumference, or 53 to 56 centimeters. Medium would be 22 and a half to 23 inches in circumference, or 57 to 59 centimeters. And a large would be like 24-inch circumference head, and that includes like hair, or 60 to 61 centimeters. And it's important to note that this is a stretchy hat. So you actually want to err on the side of being a little tighter, a little smaller, because it is stretchy. It's a stretchy fabric. It's the same kind of stitch we're using as the gloves from yesterday. So err on the side of being tight. And then we're going to talk about how to figure out your gauge as we go. So I'm starting with the same yarn and my 4mm hook. Mr. InStitches is in the house.
Hey, wife.
Yeah.
Where's my introduction?
I just said it. I just said Mr. InStitches is in the house.
Okay. It's a delayed intro today, eh? I would like to shout out Nico for gifting a membership earlier.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Nico.
And we had a quick question. Do we have a tutorial for a quadruple treble crochet stitch?
A quadruple treble crochet stitch. No, I think the highest we've got is the triple treble.
We have the treble treble.
We have the triple treble.
The triple treble.
Yes, the triple treble.
That's as high as our tutorials have gone so far.
The triple treble stitch is a, we have it like it's a, we make these little, what are they called again? I want to call them pogs or pongs. That's not the word.
Oh yeah, the yo-yos.
Yo-yos, thank you.
Yes, the yo-yo
wow,
tutorial.
Throwback to the early 90s.
Back.
Anybody remember pogs? Holy smokes, I don't even know where that came from. Yes, it's yo-yos. We have a yo-yo tutorial. This is it's a fun little thing that you can make a whole bunch of out of scraps, and you can turn them into a whole bunch of different projects, but that is a good way to practice the triple treble crochet pattern. We do not have a quadruple treble crochet pattern, but basically you're just wrapping 4 times before you pick up a loop, and it is a lot of like you yarn over and pull back through 2 loops 4 times, and that's how you get this nice tall stitch. So those look especially nice in thread. Okay, let's get going. We are going to start with a cinch circle. If the cinch circle gives you trouble, then you can make a chained ring of 4. So chain 4 and make a ring. We want a very small spot up at the top, so that's why I'm opting for the cinch circle. And I'm going to chain 3 to begin right away. So that chain 3 at the beginning of every single row counts as a double crochet. Into your ring, whether it's a cinch circle or a chained ring, doesn't matter. We're going to establish row 1, which is mostly just double crochets. So we're going to double crochet into the ring. And this whole hat pattern, this entire mandala that the hat is built off of, is a base of 8. So you're thinking in terms of 8 chain spaces or 8 sets of stitches, that kind of a thing. And it changes a little bit, but basically it starts from a base of 8. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work 2 double crochet into the ring. And it's these little sets of 2 double crochets that begin kind of the base of our row 1. So chain 1, 2 double crochet into the ring, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and you're going to do this 8 times in total. So you're going to have 8 sets of double crochets and 8 chain 1 spaces all the way around. And if you feel like the chain 4 ring is just a little too small, then you can do a chain 5 ring. But like I said, you want to have the smallest little space possible. Oh my gosh, Sylvia just found her son's pogs last week. This is crazy. I didn't think anybody still had any of those. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's 8 sets of 2 double crochet and chain 1s in between. Don't forget to chain 1 more before you finish the row. I'm going to cinch up that circle. And then you're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 that began. I'm going to ignore my little short tail. I'm just putting it to the back. I'll weave it in later. So if you can get it any tighter, then go for it. As small as you can make it. And I will be weaving my tail in and around and around and around when I'm finished the entire hat. We want to begin every row in a space. So have that in your head. Even though the first few rows kind of change up a little bit, as we go, every single row does begin in a space. So before we do anything more, we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch and slip stitch into that first chain 1 space. So we'll be building out the hat, always working in spaces. Thank you, Sakura. Sakura has picked up a pattern in our shop. That reminds me, today's little Cloche hat pattern, the split shell beanie, is today's sneaky sale. So if you want to pick it up, it is up top in the shop. Thank you, Sue. Okay, let's talk about gauge. The pattern does include gauge and ways that you can kind of keep it smart. We're going to just pause and measure the diameter of the first row. So the reason you want that super small center is partly to do with how big your first row circle is. No matter what size of hat you're working on, you don't want your diameter of the first row to be anywhere near the 2-inch mark. So if you're making it for a large head, then your max out should be about 1 3/4 inches, maybe just a little bit over that, or about 4.5, maybe 4 3/4 centimeters. But the rest of us just want to be about 1 1/3, 1.5 inches, or that's about 4.5 centimeters. So we all want to be somewhere between just like between 1 1/4 and 1.5 inch. That's the diameter of the first row. Now you can, if you're way too big, then you either want to use a smaller hook, you want to use a thinner weight yarn, or if you realize that a lot of it has to do with that center, then you maybe want to take it out and try to make your center a little bit tighter. So these are some ways you can kind of fiddle with the gauge after row 1. We're going to check the gauge again after row 3, and then we'll know that we're on track. If you're working away and we get, your gauge looks pretty good after row 1, it looks good after row 3, and then, you start to relax and it gets a little bit loose, you can switch to a smaller hook partway through this hat. There's nothing saying you can't do that. So if you're getting decent gauge all the way along with your chosen hook, but then you start to get kind of loose or wide at about the row 5 mark, you can go down a hook size. You don't have to take it all out. If somehow you get too tight, and I kind of doubt that's going to happen, but if you do, you can always go up a half a hook size to sort of loosen up your tension. Okay, so that's row 1. That's the tension and the gauge quickly checked at the end of row 1. Let's start row 2. We are all starting in this chain 1 space. We're going to chain 3. The chain 3 at the beginning of every single row always counts as a double crochet. And into that same space, we're going to work 2 more double crochet stitches. So this is your typical classic shell. 3 double crochet equals 1 classic shell. We're going to chain 1, and we're always looking for spaces. We're going to look for that next chain 1 space and work 3 double crochet into it. So chain 1, 3 double crochet in the next space all the way around. And we are building out a circle. Circles, when you're crocheting, are not always necessarily the same stitch pattern. They're not always the same number of stitches. So we've gone from little sets of 2 double crochets interrupted by chain 1 spaces to now in row 2 sets of 3 double crochets with chain 1 spaces in between. So you're working into the space, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, all the way around. You'll still have 8 sets of double crochets, but now there'll be 3 double crochet in each of those spaces as opposed to 2 like it was in the first row. Welcome, welcome everybody. If you're just joining us today, we are making a little beanie hat, a little cloche, ladies cloche hat to match the fingerless gloves we made yesterday that are sitting there off to my left. We are on row 2. I'm using the same yarn, which is it's considered a DK weight yarn, but I'm going to say it's kind of on the thin side of a size 4 weight. And I'm using a G6 or a 4mm hook. I'm making the small size. If you have a head that's larger than mine, my head's about 22 inches in circumference. If you have a larger head and you want to make this to fit yourself, you want to use a slightly larger hook or slightly thicker yarn, and we will talk gauge as we go. Thank you very much, Sherry, for picking up a pattern. We also have a tutorial on this hat. You can always watch the tutorial. It's the more succinct version. This is where we kind of discuss the whole project, and that is linked in the description box down below. After your last set of 3 double crochets, make sure you've got 8 sets all the way around. Don't forget your last chain 1. Join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, and that is row 2, all done. And at the end of every row, it's nice to sort of lay it down. Your circle should constantly lay flat until the end of row 5. If it's starting to turn on you, then your tension might be too tight. So rows 1 through 5, your circle should always lay flat. If it is turning into a bowl before you get to the end of row 5, your tension is too tight or your yarn is too heavy. And if at the end of row 6 you haven't yet started to turn into a bowl, your tension is too loose or your yarn is too light, in which case you might want to take out that row if your gauge has been correct all along and then move to a smaller hook. But we'll talk about that some more when we get there. I'm going to have a sip of my apple cider before it cools down. Ooh, that is so good. Okay. At the end of every row, goodness me, Tammy, thank you, Tammy. At the end of every row, we want to make sure we're starting in a space for the next row, and we are always moving in the same direction. So we slip stitch across those next 2 stitches into the same space. Chain 1, and before we leave, 2 more double crochet into the same space. So this looks like the split shell from yesterday that we were doing. And you might be asking, why only the chain 1? So 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. So that's what row 3 looks like. We are going to chain 1, look for the next chain 1 space and work 2 double crochet.
You might have to repeat that little bit because our feed kind of cut out a little bit.
Oh, okay. I will take it out. We'll start row 3 again. That's okay. Row 3, make sure you're starting in the chain 1 space. So you slip stitch across to the next chain 1 space at the end of row 2. Chain 3, the chain 3 at the beginning of every row counts as a double crochet. And we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, and 2 more double crochet into that same space before we leave it. And the reason that our little split shell motif only has 1 chain in between those 2 double crochets, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, as opposed to yesterday's split shell, which was 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, is because we're still up top, we're still making a small little circle, and we are gradually expanding it. So only having 1 chain in between our 2 sets of double crochets just makes it a smaller, tighter little split shell to begin with. So for row 3, we work 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1, and then into the next space, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, all into the same space, and then chain 1 again before you go to the next one. So that's the repeat. 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1 in every single space all the way around. So we'll have 8 sets of small split shells. The split shell motif, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet with a chain 1 in between all the way around. And we will pause at the end of row 3 and check our gauge again. Two double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet in each space, and chain 1 again before you move to the next space. And it is an ever increasing circle. We are increasing gradually. Nico, the gifting ninja fairy. Nico, thank you. Nico has flown in from the side and quickly ninja starred a gift. And Kim won it. Congratulations, Kim. Welcome back. Two double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and if that's your last little split shell motif, chain 1 before you join row 3 at the top of the chain 3 that began the row. There we go. And lay it down flat. Make sure that it lays flat. If it wants to curl up a little tiny bit, that's okay. But basically, if you put your palm on it, it will lay flat. We're going to measure now. If you are making the small, then the diameter of your little ever-increasing circle should be between 3.5 inches and 4 inches. But err on the side of it being small because this is stretchy. This is a stretchy pattern. For the medium, it's another 1/4 inch above that, and for the large, another 1/4 inch above that. So 3.5 to 4 inches for the small in diameter. That's about between 9 and 10 centimeters. If it's medium, you want around 3.25, 4, 4.25 inch, somewhere in there. And for the large, the diameter should be about 4.25 to 4.5 inches in diameter. Thank you very much, Russell, for picking up some patterns. So your diameter should be between 3.5 and 4.5 inches in that place. Depending on small, medium, or large, I've just given you sort of the more kind of exacting numbers, but you want to err on the side of it being small. So if you're at 4 inches in diameter and you're making the small hat, that is the max that you should be at. You might even want to go down a hook size. And if you're below 3.5 inches and you're making the small one, then you are too small and you either want to use a larger hook or maybe you need to take it out and try a thicker weight yarn. So the 3-row gauge check is the more important one. But if you're somewhere around the target gauge, sort of like a little bit under, a little bit over, then it's fine. Don't worry about it. And you can also at this point decide, oh, okay, I need to tighten up a bit or I need to loosen up a little bit. We've got 2 more rows of actual increasing to go, and then we will be at the max that it should, the max increase that it should get. Row 6 might give you a little bit more stretch as it kind of curves down the crown of the head, but you really shouldn't be getting any bigger at row 5. I should say after row 5. At the end of row 3, we want to slip stitch across the next stitch and into the little chain 1 space, because we start every single row in a space and we work every single row into spaces. We chain 3 to begin. Chain 3 does count as a double crochet, and for row 4, we're going to work 2 more double crochet into the same space. And we are basically just making regular 3 double crochet shells all the way around. So we chain 1 and into every single space, so the chain 1 space between the split shells and the chain 1 space of the split shells, we're working 3 double crochet, chain 1. So you'll have 16 shells or 16 sets of 3 double crochets all the way around, and 16 chain 1 spaces in between. So 3 double crochet, chain 1, find the next space, 3 double crochet, chain 1, find the next space. So you're working into all 16 of those spaces from the previous row. 3 double crochet, chain 1. Chain 1, 3 double crochet, if you make these a little longer, so for example, this pattern goes down to row 14, and the whole thing is sort of designed to kind of just sit across the top of your forehead. Thank you, Tammy, for picking up another pattern. If you want, you can continue to add rows and then roll the cuff up. So you can sort of turn it from like a little sort of smooth fitting beanie to being like a little bit of a beanie cap with a cuff. And you can just continue to add rows. You don't have to do anything special for the cuff. You just make it longer, and then when you put it on, you roll the cuff up. And that looks cute too. Plus, because the split shells have a little bit of a point, it'll have kind of like a jug head effect on the little cuff that kind of rolls up, because all the way around the cuff you'll have these like little subtle points. So that's kind of a cute option too, if you want to make it look a little less cloche like and a little bit more like a regular hat with a cuff. So 3 double crochet, chain 1 in every single one of those chain 1 spaces from the previous row. At the end of row 4, we will have 16 sets of 3 double crochets, or 16 shells if you want to look at it like that, and 16 chain 1 spaces in between. And your disc or your circle, or whatever you want to kind of call this, the crown of your hat should lay flat on the desk in front of you. Don't forget the last chain 1 before you join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And then I like to lay it flat. Yep, still lays flat. Pause and have a sip of cider. I love puzzles too. I'm just checking in with the chat here. I absolutely love puzzles. Holy cow, do I love puzzles. I think I have a brand new one that I got last year for Christmas, and I haven't even opened yet, right, Mr. InStitches? Does that ring a bell?
Do you remember who gave you that new puzzle?
Let me see.
I'll give you 3 guesses.
Do the first two not count?
Yes, that is true.
Yes. Yeah, you gave me a puzzle for Christmas. I don't think I got into it yet.
I think it's still in its wrapper.
Yeah, you got it for me so I could make it over the break, and I never got around to it.
We were kind of busy.
We were a little busy last year. Yeah.
That's fair. You get a pass.
I will do it this year. I love puzzles. I can't wait. I'm really excited about it. Okay, we just finished row 4. This is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. So you can kind of count those little shells as they kind of, I want to say emanate, as they kind of leave the center. We start every single row in a chain 1 space. So you want to make sure you're slipping across, slip stitch across to the next space. We always start in a space. That's row 4 complete. Row 5 is the last row of increasing we're going to do. So row 5 begins with a chain 3. We chain 3. That counts as a double crochet. Then we work a double crochet, chain 1 and 2 double crochet into the same space. So we're back to that little kind of split shell motif that has only got a chain 1 in between our double crochet. So 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, all worked into the same space, and then we chain 1, and we do the same thing in every single chain 1 space. So you will have a set of 16 small split shell motifs all the way around. So into the next chain 1 space, 2 double crochet, chain 1 and 2 double crochet, all into the same little space, and chain 1 before you leave. Next space, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. So we're keeping those little shells on the small side, chain 1, into the next space, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and chain 1 again before you leave. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around in each one of those little spaces from the previous row. Rebecca asks, do you have a choker pattern and video? Yes, we do. We've got a crochet necklace, choker necklace. Trying to think of, we did that as a live crochet along, and we based it on our matching anklet. Someone can help me out with that.
I'll see if I can find it. It's a live stream?
I think it might have been a live.
Do you remember what it's titled?
Just use the word necklace. That should probably bring it up.
Necklace. Sunshine necklace pendant crochet?
Nope. But that's a cute one too.
I don't remember us doing a choker style necklace.
Yeah, that's why I think it was a live crochet along. It's green.
You sure it's not the collar?
No, it's not the collar. It's a green choker. I made it. Like I'm picturing it in my head. It's got beads in it.
I'm getting the Sunshine necklace pendant crochet.
Are you searching under live or videos?
I am searching under both.
Oh, okay.
Let me try again. Let's make a necklace?
That's probably it.
Okay. I'll post it.
Yeah, I think it's based off the...
We don't have the thumbnail of the necklace, but I'll post that and we'll see.
I think that's it.
It's from 2020.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, I've got one more space left. So 2 double crochet, chain 1 and 2 double crochet into the same space. And then chain 1 more before I close the row with a slip stitch in the top of the chain 3 that began the row. And that is row 5. We lay it flat. It should still be laying flat at this point. In row 6, we now switch from these sort of slightly tighter split shells with 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet in them. and we elongate them just a little bit back to the normal 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. And we also chain 1 in between. Now, here is a little trick for this hat. If you get to this point, you should be basically at the diameter of your head circumference. So 22 inches, if you take your head circumference, whether you use 22 inches or the equivalent in centimeters, and divide it by pi, 3.14, that gives you your diameter, and you should be somewhere in the ballpark of that. So for me, I should be somewhere in the ballpark of 6 inches, and I am. I'm just over the 5.5 inch mark. Remember, you want to err on the side of being tighter. If you get to this point and your gauge is fantastic and you work row 6 and row 6 is looking good, but somehow as you're working row 7, 8, 9, 10, which is all a repeat of row 6, if you notice that it just keeps getting wider and wider and wider, you do not have to use the chain 1 in between your split shell motifs. And I'll explain that again when I get through finishing with row 6. So row 5, this was the small split shell, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, chain 1, repeated all the way around. You should have 16 sets of those small split shells with 16 chain 1 spaces. That is the end of row 5. We're all there. And we are going to slip stitch into the next stitch because we always want to start in a chain space. So you're always going to slip stitch across to the space, which will be in the middle of a split shell from here on out. Row 6, we chain 3 to begin and double crochet in the same space. And now we are using the same familiar split shell stitch that we used in our mitts. We chain 2 now and then 2 double crochet. So chain 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. That is now back to the regular split shell pattern. And we are going to chain 1. You are going to skip a chain 1 space. So this is also very important, and this might be kind of helpful to just mark it with a stitch marker. We've got chain 1 spaces in between our split shells from the previous row. So we've got 16 chain 1 spaces in between our split shells. Do not confuse the little chain 1 space in between your, like as that's part of your split shell motif. Don't confuse that with the chain 1 spaces in between. So they should actually look bigger. The chain 1 spaces in between your split shells should really look bigger than the little chain 1 space that sits in between your split shell motif. You are going to work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into every single middle of a split shell all the way around. So you'll have 16 split shells. They'll just be a little bit wider than the ones from row 5 because you're doing 2 double crochet, chain 2 now, 2 double crochet. But you're going to chain 1 and skip the existing chain 1 space in between your motifs. So chain 1, skip that big chain 1 space, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the middle of the previous split shell motif. Now, if this starts to get too wide, it starts to fan out on you after row 6, it's getting too wide, you can ignore the chain 1. So you will just work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, don't chain 1, still skip the previous space from between split shells, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the next split shell. But that's only if you feel like everything's just continuing to get bigger. Otherwise, you work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, then chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, and work a full split shell motif into the middle of the next split shell. And this is the pattern we're going to work from here on out all the way down the rest of the hat. And once we get done with row 6, I will mention that little trick again. So if you get to the end of row 6 and you feel like your gauge has just gone spiraling into space, you have a few options. You can, if it's too loose, you can do row 6 again without the chain 1s in between your split shells. You can just go down a hook size if you don't want to change the pattern. And that might be a good option for a lot of you, but you do have the opportunity to just not chain one in between your split shells. But that's only if you feel your gauge is really getting thrown off. Otherwise, you should notice as you work around row 6 that your hat is starting to kind of turn into a little bit of a bowl shape. Because at the end of row 5, we should have hit peak diameter measurement, which would be basically the top, the widest part of the crown of your head. And then it should start wanting to curl down around your head at row 6. So row 6, you should see this curling action happening. And you can see that there, it's turning into a bit of a bowl. If you're still completely flat out and like nice and loose and it lays flat, then you might want to either go down a hook size, so take it out, start row 6 again with a smaller hook, or take it out, start row 6 again, but exclude the chain ones in between your split shells. You're still skipping the chain one space, you're just not additionally chaining one as you skip. That is your option, and one of those will work just fine.
Did you mention roughly how many yards you think you might need for
Yep,
that?
about 80. I'm going to say that's kind of an overestimate, but let's say 80, just so that you probably have enough. So I'm working 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, chain 1 into the middle of every split shell from the previous row. I'm skipping the chain 1 spaces in between my motifs, and my hat is definitely turning into a bowl shape now, which is really what you should be looking for. This, I think, is the part of the original tutorial that gave a lot of people pause. They were going, hey, it's not turning into a bowl. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. Chances are, if your stitch count is fine, it's just your tension. And tension is heavily affected by hooks and yarn. I know we're not all using the same yarn, and not all yarn is created the same. So hopefully today we've shone a little bit of light on gauge and fiddling with it, and even just sort of adjusting the pattern a smidgen if you need to in order to get that good snug fit. This really should have a snug fit. Don't forget the last chain 1 as you skip the last chain 1 space from the previous row. Or if you're excluding those chains in between your motifs, you're just joining with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, laying it flat, and you should have it curling up now around your edges. Oh my goodness, this mulled apple cider is so good. All right, so that was row 6. You should have this kind of bowing effect happening now. If you don't, it's laying flat, then like I said, you might want to take out row 6, switch to a smaller hook, or take out row 6 and redo it, but exclude the chain 1 spaces in between your split shell motifs. So you can do either or. If you're really, really wide, you can do both. Go to a smaller hook and exclude the chain 1 in between your split shells. But if you're turning into a nice little bowl like this, you're going to slip stitch across to the middle of the next split shell. So every row from here on out starts in the middle of a split shell motif. Chain 3 to begin, that counts as a double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, all into the center of the previous motif. And you're going to continue whatever you did for row 6. So in my case, I'm going to chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, and work 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the next stitch, or the next space I should say, chain 1, skip a space, repeat. If you, in row 6, got rid of the chain 1s in between your motifs, you will continue to do that for the rest of the hat. So whatever you did in row 6, you are going to repeat exactly for rows 7 through 14. No changes from here on out. If you're zipping along, everything's fine. You get to row 7, row 8, and then you start to notice that things are starting to spread out on you a little bit. Again, it could just be that your tension is relaxing. So rather than panic, you can at that point go down to hook size 2. So lots of opportunity to just sort of adjust your gauge as you go throughout the hat. It's always good to kind of just stop at the end of every row, put it down, take a look, make sure that everything looks the way it should. Okay, now that we have established the hat, that was quite the long intro, but you know, doing a hat from the top down takes a little bit more explanation, I feel, than one from the bottom up. Have there been any questions, Mr. InStitches? He's either eating or reading. Mr. InStitches? Must be getting a snack. If you feel these sorts of hats look silly, I just noticed Catherine's comment there. You can make them a little longer and then turn the brim up so that it looks a little bit more like a hat. Some people feel they look a bit funny in a hat that sort of fits tightly against the head. I think another name for these is skull cap. I think they started calling them skull cap beanies a while ago. But you can make them longer, you know, 16 or 17 rows. Just keep repeating the same row 6 pattern basically. And then you can roll the cuff up, and it gives you just a little bit of a kind of a crown cuff, and that's really cute. So that does change the look of the hat a little bit and makes it look less sort of stuck tight to the head. Mr. InStitches.
Yes. Can I help you?
I wanted to know if there's been any questions about the pattern or yesterday's gloves or anything like that.
I'm looking back through.
I'm kind of only got half an eye on the chat today. I'm mostly paying attention to what I'm doing here.
Looks like mostly just sharing comments.
Okay, great. Going to turn my hat so that it's...
Everyone wants to know if I was sleeping on the job. That's a question. No.
Okay, great.
No one currently has any questions on the hat pattern.
So a trick to getting good gauge with this hat is keeping kind of a conscious note on your tension. If you are zipping along and you're doing like you're going to speed up because now the pattern is the same repeated. It's just a 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, split shell, and then you are either chaining 1 and skipping, or you're not chaining 1, you're just skipping to the next split shell and repeating. So whatever the row 6 repeat is you're doing, you're going to start speeding up. And when you speed up, you tend to you leave that little motif. This is where you might want the buffering. How did Amanda get the buffering emoji?
I think you can get it through YouTube.
Is that an actual emoji, like a buffering emoji?
I think so, yeah.
That's cool.
Yes. Let us know when we're back. Jayda can continue.
Yeah, it looks like we're back. I was just saying, when you start every row from here on out, you might want to mark the chain 3 with a stitch marker, just because you're going to be speeding up and you don't want to accidentally kind of blow past the beginning of the row. You may not need to do that. I just find, like, now that I'm kind of zipping along and I'm sort of got an eyeball on the chat and we're all kind of chit-chatting, I don't want to miss the beginning of the row. So just marking it kind of helps me take my mind off of it. I want to make sure that I'm staying nice and snug.
Barbara would like to know, what is the biggest puzzle you have done?
What's the biggest puzzle I've done?
Have you done more than 1,000? I know you've done 1,000 many times.
Yeah, I don't usually bother with anything less than 1,000.
I like the puzzles that are 25 pieces. 10 pieces. Those are the best ones.
You like those, eh?
The ones that have the little handle on them. You know, the mini handle? They're made of wood.
I like wooden puzzles. I'm not sure if I've done more than 1,500, but I typically do the 1,000-piece puzzles. I really like those. I feel like they're just challenging enough that I have to kind of be engaged with it, but not so, obliterating that I get defeated. I also want to just say, too, about this hat pattern, that if you made this hat before and you made notes about it and you knew exactly what hook worked and you knew exactly what yarn weight worked and you're feeling really confident, and you go and you start the hat again using a slightly different yarn or a slightly different hook, or even the same brand of yarn and the same hook, and you get a different tension, it's probably because you have changed as a crocheter. So you're tighter than you were before, you're looser than you were before, maybe you're more even than you were before. If you're using the same yarn or a yarn by the manufacturer, but there's a few years in between the manufacturing of those balls of yarn, even if it's in the same line inside the same brand, there could be changes to the yarn. So the yarn might just be a little bit lighter than it was before. More likely a little bit lighter. I think we're all seeing shrinkflation happen everywhere right now. So they may have done something simple like take a single ply out for the entire length of the ball so that it still looks the same, it's still in the same weight category, it's still got the same color, but it's just a little bit thinner. That can actually translate to a change in your tension over several rows in a project. So it's always good when you're starting something like this to kind of just keep an eye on it. And at any time you can give yourself the permission to go, my tension has changed, this yarn has changed, whatever the case may be, and just do what I said. Go down a hook size if you're too loose, go up a hook size if you're too tight. Remove that chain one in between split shells if you find that it's getting to be too wide. And you can do that at any time. Like if you get down to row 7 or 8 and you're fine, but then after row 8 things start to open back up again or get a little loose, you can tighten it up again. You can get rid of that chain one space if you want. Remembering that this is very stretchy and it will stretch out on you or whoever's wearing it, because it's a nice stretchy little pattern, and you want to err on the side of it being snug. So for example, I might try this on at the end of this row, whatever this row is on, and if I feel like it's just not quite snug enough, I might start doing the rest of my rows without that chain one in between my split shells, because it won't change the look of the hat, and it will snug it back up for me.
The Gifting Ninja Fairy is back.
Nico! Oh my gosh!
Gifted memberships!
Good Lord, Nico! I don't think there's enough people left on the internet to be members. Thank you so much, Nico. Holy good Lord. Let me see if I can read all these names.
Of gifted memberships.
Welcome and welcome back to Tony, Martha, Yarn Lover Cowgirl, Erin, Miss Jersey, Robin, Darla, Tracy, Carmelita, Patrick, Debbie, Jennifer, Brenda, Marie LaFay, Debbie, Margaret, Linksa, sorry, my eyes, Deanna, and Karina, and Anne. Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. And thank you, Nico. We just Updated information for the Silk and Vicuñas this morning. So after the stream, make sure you pop over to the community page and check out the post for Silk and Vicuñas there. And we will also have a post for a few more posts today for everybody. So the community page on our website, or I should say the community tab on our YouTube channel homepage is a good place to hang out, or at least check pretty regularly if you're not getting notifications. All right, let's see here. I'm going to just pop this on my head and see how it fits. Oh yeah, that feels good. Okay. Yep, I'm going to continue with the pattern as is. So, fitting me nicely. I'm going to keep my tension on the tighter side and slip stitch across to the chain 2 space, chain 3 to begin. I'm going to pause and I'm going to see which row I'm on. I think I'm on row 9, but let's make sure. So there's my little motif finished. Okay, let's see, where am I at? Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, row 7, row 8. I am now starting row 9. Okay. I will have a sip of my apple cider. Cheers, Nico. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much. Goodness gracious. Oh, I've got a good question for a poll. If you think we can handle it, Mr. InStitches.
If I stay quiet, everyone will think I'm gone. Yeah, well, we can try. I think it's the wind that's making it kind of kick in and out.
Yes, the weather is a bit unruly here today, guys.
Otherwise, it hasn't been too bad.
The poor little squirrels are looking pretty miserable out there,
fed,
actually.
But I think they're frustrated because of the cold.
It's very cold and windy.
We have to let them in.
We don't.
That might be a mistake.
I would, but they would just destroy the place.
All right, what's your poll idea? We'll try it.
Are you going to buy yourself yarn for Christmas? Yes or no?
Is that poll even necessary?
I think it is. I think it is. I'm curious to know.
All right, the first one's free. Lee says, I already did. You got right to it.
Well, I'm just thinking, over this holiday break that Mr. InStitches and I will be taking, I mentioned yesterday that we like to take our 2 weeks over the holidays. And then we're usually back, I don't know, a week or two into January. So we take a little while over the holidays to kind of just take a break, collect our thoughts and stuff, catch up with family, the usual. And
Jessica Rabbit would like you to vote also. I guess you can place your vote after.
Who?
You can't vote while you're, you can't see the vote poll, can you?
I can't see the poll,
okay.
No. I was going to say anyway, though, we like to take that time, among other things, to kind of really start planning out the 2024 projects in general. We usually have to be planned out weeks ahead of time, just so we've got a good schedule to follow. And I like to take that time to go through my yarn stash and figure out what I've got, do a full inventory, see if there's anything I need, etc. And that is sometimes the time I go to the stores. And I don't always buy yarn around the Christmas break, but I have noticed in the past that after Christmas, there can be some really good deals on yarn, and not just the Christmassy or the holiday yarn. Sometimes they're clearing out all of the stuff that they probably won't be restocking for the new year. So does anyone else notice that there's some good deals to be had right after Christmas sometimes?
Some people are on yarn bans.
Yes.
From their spouses.
I've done that. I've done a no buy yarn year.
Yeah. No yarn for a year.
That's a fun challenge.
That. So let's see here. We have 88 votes. I'm going to call on all lurkers to just pop in and place your vote if you're around. We know you're there.
We know you're there.
We can see you.
That color is so subtle. That change of color. I started again with that slate gray. It kind of changed to the darker green, the lighter green, into the coral, the rose, a little bit of that lilac, and then back again. I just love it.
So we're sitting on 104 votes. We'll wait another minute or so.
Sure.
Sometimes the poll doesn't work for everyone. We've been noticing the odd little glitch here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of fixes could be updating your YouTube app or your device software like Apple or Android. That might have something to do with it, but I'm not sure.
I myself try to wait until there are sales before I go out and get yarn. I don't mind admitting that I'm crazy cheap because I am. I find I feel more excited about getting a really good deal on yarn than I ever do if I just go out and buy yarn. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love yarn and I love buying it, but I always feel a little more excited about it if I know I got a good deal. So I typically wait for sales. I typically try to buy yarn when it's on sale. And that's just kind of my little, that's just my thing. I don't know if a lot of you do that too, but it's not often that I find, a brand new, yarn product and go, oh, I'm going to give that a try. Sometimes I do, but it's really, really rare because I typically just go straight for whatever's on clearance or whatever's on sale because I know what I like. I know, I tend to use a lot of the same stuff. When I visited Mary Maxim in Paris, Paris, Ontario, I pretty much went straight to the discount room because they've got an entire room at their distribution place that's all kind of the stuff that's on sale or kind of discontinued or whatever. I went there first and I could probably have just filled a cart in there. They had so much amazing stuff in their clearance room. And I found a lot of yarns I'd never had a chance to try before or never really thought to buy before. I found some in there. And I did that before I even went to the rest of the store.
Okay, I think that's good. 116 votes. What do you say?
Let's call it. Let's call it.
Here we go.
I will take a little break from my hat build here. Yeah, an entire clearance room, Penelope. An entire room of clearance yarn. Oh, and clearance yarn kits. And oh my gosh, I was just literally in heaven. Are you going to buy yourself yarn for Christmas? No, 49%. Yes, 41%. Now I am 9%. So that's a lot more. That's a different breakdown than I anticipated. So now, is that because a lot of us feel we've already got enough yarn? We know that people are going to be giving us
Some
yarn.
people already did purchase yarn for themselves.
Okay.
I didn't put that option in. There were a handful of those.
Understood. I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and get some more of my cider. I'll be right back. I am curious to know.
I need elevator music for when Jayda takes a break.
Make sure my slippers are on. So good. All right. Okay. And we're back. Back with another mug of cider. Yum. All right. What row am I on here? 1, 2, 3. Double crochet. Chain 2. Double crochet. Double crochet. And chain 1. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm on row 11. Wow, that was quick. Okay. So I'm aiming for row 14. Like I said, you could always make it a little longer and roll the brim up if you wanted to. But I'm going to wear it like a classic kind of cloche style. So I'm going to aim for 14. I'm going to try it on, and if I feel like it needs to be a little bit longer, I will add another row. But the whole pattern basically just goes to row 14. But like I said, if you've got, if you want to make it longer, you can. If it feels a little too long on you, you can always take out a row. It's a very flexible little pattern. There will be no spiking of my cider.
We're going to be doing the show from a different location tomorrow. Depends on how much cider Jayda drinks. I will not spike your cider, don't worry. Some of our viewers would like to know what I got you for Christmas.
Oh.
The answer is nada.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
Zero zilch.
Nothing.
Last year's puzzle you haven't opened.
No.
I'm going to rewrap that puzzle.
Don't you dare.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. That's the plan.
No, cider isn't alcoholic, Catherine. At least not apple cider, like
No,
actual
it's not.
apple
It's just
cider. I'm not talking about a
pressed
hard
apples.
cider. Hard cider is alcoholic. I have no idea what that's like or what it tastes like because I've never had a hard cider, but traditional apple cider is not alcoholic. As evidenced by the fact that I can.
It's kind of a joke word for
Pardon?
alcohol, cider, right?
What?
It's like a joke word.
What?
The word cider.
Cider? No,
It's
like
used as a bit of a.
it's because they started making something called hard cider back in the 90s, and now people think they're cool and just call it cider.
People that can't drink beer.
But it's apple cider is not alcoholic. I'm sure you could get alcoholic apple
just
cider.
your typical apple cider you get at like
at the store.
Really wholesome farmers market.
Yeah.
Not that what's that kind of well-known one called? Ken's or Keith's or something? I forget.
Like the hard lemonade?
Hard lemonade? Yeah. Do they have a hard cider?
Yeah, like I said, that's the difference. Hard cider means it's alcoholic, but regular like apple cider is just apple cider. It's not alcoholic. If it was alcoholic and I'm on my second gigantic mug of it, this would be a very different live stream.
Jayda would be passed out drooling on the craft table right now.
I'd be bringing the squirrels into the house.
Completely different live stream. I'd be rewrapping her last year's Christmas gift while she was passed out.
Mike's, that's it, Joanna. Yes, Mike's hard lemonade.
Mike's, that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
of. I said Ken's and Keith's. Keith is a beer.
Yeah, Keith's is a beer.
Alexander or something.
The pride of Nova Scotia. Keith's.
Yes, that's right.
Although I don't know if they've actually. I don't know if they've.
That's the one I'm thinking.
I don't know if they actually ever.
Does Mike's have a hard cider?
Pardon?
I wonder if Mike's has a hard cider
Oh,
as
maybe.
opposed
I don't
to
know.
lemonade.
I was going to say, I don't think they ever polled the people of Nova Scotia to find out if Keith's really is the pride of Nova Scotia, but they like to think they are, so. So Janice says in Finland, cider is alcoholic. So is that just in general? Like, do you guys not have apple cider? Is that like a North American thing?
Yeah, just plain old apple cider. It's kind of like apple juice, but it just seems a bit, I don't know, stronger, more tardy or something.
It's quite nice. It's just
It's usually dark.
It's very dark. Yeah. I always heat it up. I mull it with like cinnamon sticks and cloves and all that stuff. UK cider is either 4 or 8%, says Catherine. Okay. Jeez. Lori says, my favorite pub serves a drink made with apple cider spiked with cinnamon vodka and spiced pear liqueur. Ooh, gee, that sounds good. Angry Orchard makes something like a hard cider, I guess. Angela's wondering if anybody's made their own yarn. Yes, we made t-shirt yarn. We actually did a tutorial on that. That was fun. So Danny says, yes, we have plain regular apple cider with no alcohol, and then we have sparkling apple cider with no alcohol. Oh, so that would be effervescent cider. It's got like carbonated water in it or something. That would be fun to drink.
If anyone knows what the difference between apple juice and apple cider is, I'd like to know.
Yeah, Krista just said it.
Someone just said that there's pear cider too.
Krista just said that apple juice is from the apple cider is from the pressed apple peelings.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's why it has a stronger taste to it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, thank you, Krista.
Sense.
We were wondering that the other day. Victor would like to know if you've ever been to the States.
Yes. Not recently, but I have been. I've been down through... I've driven down to Florida. I've driven down to Florida, so I went down via Tennessee. So I went through Tennessee. We drove out to Maine. Was it Maine? No. We went to,
where those islands are.
yeah.
New Hampshire. Nantucket.
Nantucket. We
and
drove all the
Martha's
way
Vineyard,
out
that area?
to go to Nantucket once. We did that years ago. That was really pretty, going through the state of New York and everything. And I have been to Vegas. I flew into LAX with my family years and years and years and years ago, and we drove from Los Angeles through the mountains and the desert to go to Vegas. That was interesting. Saw ghost towns and stuff out there. So yeah, I've seen various parts of the states. Not all of it by any stretch.
Massachusetts. Thanks, everyone. That's correct.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts was the.
How could we forget that? I always want to sing that Bee Gees song.
Hampshire. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
I want to say New Hampshire. It's Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yes, there's a real place called Nantucket.
Yeah, we've been there.
Did you see the Grand Canyon?
No. Did not.
I think my mother and sister went to see the Grand Canyon.
I think they flew over it.
With a helicopter or something?
Yeah. No.
No Grand Canyon.
I've not seen the Grand Canyon. We went to Vegas because we had friends living there. Like, I was a 16-year-old kid. Like, this was forever ago. And we had friends living in Vegas, so we just went to see them. Oh, I've also driven down to Indianapolis. That's another place I've been to. All of this was when I was a teenager, though. I think the last time we went through to the U.S. was when we drove out to Nantucket, and that was also years ago. But that was. At least I was an adult for that. You know what I think? Okay, I haven't seen a lot of the United States, so I absolutely do not intend to generalize here at all. But can I just say that your interstate system with all of those constant rest stops are just the greatest thing in the universe. I love driving through the United States because at the second you get like half a whiff of a thought of, I think I might be hungry or I might need to go to the bathroom, bang, there's like an amazing rest stop with like everything right where you need it. I love that. We do not have anything quite like that here. We have an en route system across the 401 in Southern Ontario, which is pretty great, but even they are not as close together, I don't think, as the stops in
They're
the
also
States.
a lot smaller.
It's much, much smaller. We don't have the population or the money for it here, but oh my gosh.
Like retail.
Love the interstate system. Love it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. One more row to go, and my hat will be complete. So I've just finished row 13. I am starting row 14. Row 14 will be the last row on my hat, and I will try it on just to make sure that I don't need to make it longer. But I can already tell by looking at it that it's not going to be too short. I sip my... if any of you ever have the chance to drive through Newfoundland, here in Canada, the incredible island of Newfoundland, it is exactly the opposite of the interstate system. Now, the road itself is gorgeous. The scenery is absolutely mind-blowing. It changes impressively with every hour that passes. But there are literally signs that say things like, make sure you fill up your tank. Next gas station, like 6 hours away. like there are huge gaps along that road where there is nothing, no towns, no living people, just a lot of moose.
Be prepared to push.
Be prepared to
fill
make
up
sure
your
that
tank and be prepared
when
to
you
push.
see a gas station, fill up. I have driven across Canada. I did that when I was very little. And I've done the drive out to the East Coast a few times. I've driven across much of the main island of Newfoundland, but I have not been to Labrador, which is part of the mainland way up north, but also considered part of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And I have not been to the territories, so that's on my bucket list. I want to get up to the territories at some point. This continent is just so absolutely gigantic. I don't know that you have to really make an effort to see all of it. Yeah, I was doing pretty well here. I was managing to not split my yarn for much of the build of this hat. I guess I got used to it yesterday when I was making the gloves. I just had one little itty bitty split there. Not a big deal. Another thing you could do when you're finished this hat is if you wanted to just give it a finishing row of single crochet in every single stitch all the way around, you could do that too if you felt like it just needed a little extra something. I have not bothered when I've made this hat in the past because I feel like it looks just fine with that last row of split shell running along the edge. But you can definitely do that if you feel it needs a little something. I've also seen people add like little beads and some sequins and stuff to this just to make it a little extra fancy. That's something you can do on a hat like this, or you can also add a little applique. So let's say you made this. This is the kind of hat that looks great with like a big flower along the brim. Like if you're wearing it and you've got a nice big flower right here. Our poinsettia would be a good one. We've got a poinsettia tutorial coming out for you on Saturday this week. So that little poinsettia that I kind of freehanded during the little Soap Saver Scrubby live cow we did, I think that was Tuesday. I've fixed it. I made it much more flower-like, so it's not terribly different from what I did on the live stream, but I made it look a lot more even and balanced. So I did a proper tutorial on it because I thought it certainly warranted that. And we've got some beading and some pin options, like turning it into a brooch and stuff, included in that tutorial. So that's coming out for you guys on Saturday. And that is the kind of thing that would fit really nicely on a hat like this. So if you did this whole hat just in white or in a solid color, putting a great big three-dimensional flower on the side of it would really look cool. It suits that kind of a big sort of addition. I just finished row 14. I'm going to try it on before I fasten off just to make sure that it fits and that it doesn't. So it fits quite nicely and it goes, yep.
It's the wind, I think.
It's definitely the wind.
Just take a short pause.
Sure. It looks like Virginia won it. Congratulations, Virginia. Thank you so much, Nico, for gifting another membership. And I think we're back. So I have finished 14 rows. That's all I need. I just tried it on. This comes right to my eyebrows, so that's perfect. And I'm going to fasten off. If you want, you can add a little row of single crochet all the way around if you think it needs it. I kind of like the edge of this the way it is. So I'm just gonna fasten off and then I'm gonna grab my yarn, needle, and weave in my tail. Are there any questions about today's little hat?
Are you done?
I'm done.
Wow.
Look at
you
that.
You are quick.
It's a simple little pattern. I'm just gonna weave my tail in now.
Looks good. Do you have a lot of yarn left over, or is that pretty much it?
I've got a decent amount. It's not enough to make a scarf by any stretch. So this little set will only be a hat and mitts, but that's fine. What I might do is turn this into something like, I might take an existing scarf, or I might find a yarn if I wanted to. I don't really need another scarf. I have so many of them, but I could always just take what's left and add a little something to the edges of an existing scarf in a similar color, or find a similar colored yarn, make a scarf that matched in this stitch set, and then add this as a detail to the ends of it. But I'm probably going to save this back and make it into something
Someone
else.
Suggested a neck warmer, just a little bit of a mini cowl maybe.
Yeah.
Is that enough for that?
I don't think I have enough for that, but I do have enough for, I believe, a headband. So someone asked in the comments yesterday if we could do a headband, or explain how to do a headband using this particular pattern, because she wanted to make a set, including the gloves, for someone, but this someone doesn't wear hats. And I absolutely love that idea, because I absolutely love headbands, and I think that I definitely have enough yarn left in this colorway to make a little headband out of the split shell stitch pattern. Let me just see here. I'm going to just kind of wind it around my hands.
Someone suggested a flower pattern.
Yeah, oh, you definitely...
Maybe to add to the hat?
I definitely have enough to make a flower.
Yeah.
A flower would be cool, but I would try to make I would make a flower in a different color, just so it hangs out, like it stands out a little bit. I'm just kind of going through... What I'm doing is I'm looking at the color changes. I'm going to see how many color changes I have. Because what that tells me is, I know the color changes in this ball of yarn are consistent. So all I have to do is look at how many color changes I worked through in my hat and in my gloves, and I can deduce from that if I have enough of this ball of yarn to make like a set of ear warmers. And I absolutely have enough to make a set of ear warmers, it looks like. So that's kind of exciting. I might do that. A little headband made using the split shell pattern. Francesca's asking, where can she get a needle like the one I'm using? I love these. These are called wool needles. They've got that little plastic eye, which makes threading them unbelievably easier when you've got visual problems, or even like just dexterity problems. They're pretty much exclusively what I use. They come in sets of 3. Tons of different manufacturers make them. You can find them on Amazon. I know that Pony makes a set in really pretty aluminum colors. I have a set by H.A. Kidd. You can also get them at Walmart in some locations in the yarn section. H.A. Kidd makes them for Walmart under the Love Knitting label. They're called wool needles. Absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend everybody has a set, or 2 or 3. I have 2 full sets. Oh, and the set that I have, here's my original. I've even got the original packaging still. This is the original packaging for my first set. Here's my big one. So they come in 3 different sizes. I've got the big one. I'm using the middle one. I bought this 20, 25, 30 years ago. I'm not kidding. That's how long I've had this package of needles. And it was just a year and a half ago that I finally busted the little plastic eye loop on the small needle. And I had been using that needle pretty much daily for just about 20 years. So kudos to H.A. Kidd. They make an amazing product. And I've just moved to the middle one. Now recently I picked up a set at Walmart when I saw them. I got very excited because I thought, well, I want to have another set in my traveling case, and also just have it sort of on hand in case I need them. In case I break one or I do something, lose one. I don't know. I always want to have an extra kit. And they are also H.A. Kidd, and they were made under the Love Knitting label for Walmart. So they look exactly the same. They're an aluminum shaft, which is all the same size. And they've got that little plastic eye that comes out the back end. So absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend. Okay, so there we go. Wow, that was great. Not only did I get a new pair of gloves to go with that skirt I wanted to match, but now I have a little hat to go with it. And I definitely have enough left to make a headband. So I'm going to put a little bit of thought into that. I think I know exactly how I want to make it. And I will probably make a headband, like an ear warmer, in the split shell stitch in this, just in case if some days I don't want to wear the hat, I just want to wear the split shell headband. It'll match my gloves. And I will probably just try and, I might try and make a tutorial for that. Just so, because I haven't made, we haven't actually figured out the pattern or anything yet, I'll make a tutorial, and if it works out nicely, maybe we'll do a live stream of that down the road. But I'm going to try a tutorial first on that, just so everybody's got the succinct version, and then, you know, if we need to, we'll do a live stream on it. Yeah, how cool is that? The pattern for the hat and the gloves, and there's even a matching scarf pattern. We have tutorials for all three. The hat tutorial is linked in the description box. Yesterday we made the gloves, and that tutorial is linked in the description box of yesterday's live stream. We've got written patterns for all three, and they're all available in our Etsy shop. And today's sneaky sale is actually our little hat pattern. So if you want to grab the pattern for the hat, please feel free to zip over and do that. And thank you very much if you do. And like I said, we've got the tutorial. So this was a nice long extended explanation on getting good gauge, how to sort of fiddle with your yarn and your hook size and stuff to get a gauge that fits the hat or fit the head that you want to make it for. So I hope that was helpful, because we do get a lot of questions about that. I'm pretty excited that I have this much yarn left over. So that's a set already in this pretty yarn, and I still have enough left over to make an alternative headpiece to go with it. So pretty excited about that. If anyone has any questions, Claire's asking, will we have a pattern? If I get the ear warmer thing, absolutely we will have a pattern. I'm gonna have to work it out. I have an idea. I was thinking about it last night. I have a pretty good idea of how I want it to go, but I need to put a little work into it first. So I'm gonna do that. And we will see you guys here tomorrow. We're going to live stream again tomorrow. We've got an actual tutorial on that little poinsettia, so an actual video pre-recorded tutorial. That will be on Saturday, so we've got a little something for you on Saturday, but we're going to live stream again tomorrow. We're going to do another live crochet along. Stay tuned to see what that'll be. And if anybody's got any questions about today's hat or yesterday's gloves, please feel free to ask. If not, you can leave them in the comment section. You can leave them on this video or the previous videos, the actual tutorial, and you can always pop into the Etsy shop and ask us questions about our patterns and tutorials there. We're always happy to chit chat. Mr. InStitches, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I think you covered everything. Did you mention that we just put the written version of the poinsettia flower?
The pattern
for members on the website?
Yeah, there's a written pattern for the new poinsettia flower. The tutorial's coming out Saturday. But if you're a Silk or Vicuña member, we've got that free pattern available for you on the Silk and Vicuña members only webpage. And that is thanks to Crystal for suggesting that we make that a members pattern. We will also have a pattern for that in the Etsy shop, but that won't be until Saturday. So if you're a Silk or Vicuña member, you get a sneak peek at the tutorial that's coming on Saturday by taking a look at the pattern we have for you over on the webpage. Joanna, thank you, Joanna. Joanna just popped in quickly with a super chat. Thank you for all you do for us, Jayda. Thank you very much, Joanna.
Someone asked questions about the calendar blanket, but that will be completely ignored. Those questions do not rank or count.
We never give out hints. We never
Zero
ever give
hints.
out hints. In like 8 years of doing this, we've never given out a hint. So, I hope you all had fun with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. It is just such a nice thing to sit here with everybody and hang out and do a little crochet and get crafty and stay cozy. I've always got my little my shawl on. This is the cottage shell we made a little while ago. I've been living in it. I don't know if any of you also made this, but I literally wear it every single day that I sit here. It is just the perfect amount of warmth. So between that and my new hat and mitts, I'm good to go. Anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern, for another live crochet along, a Friday edition. And until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and if Mr. InStitches has anything to add, say it now or forever hold your peace.
I'm rating your work today. Just coming to inspect it, make sure it's all right. Looks
Thank
okay
you.
to me. That's it. We'll see everyone tomorrow.
All right.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye to all our lurkers.